getting right into it. I have a daughter. Her name is June, and she was born into heaven when I was 18 weeks pregnant. I found out that I was pregnant on December 6th of 2016. I was 4 weeks along at that point. My pregnancy went pretty smoothly for the most part. I was terrified of having a miscarriage, so I did not want to tell anyone besides close family and stuff like that until after the 12-week mark, because obviously everyone knows that's, the safe mark. It's not always the safe mark. A lot can still go wrong, but nobody talks about the things that can go wrong until they do, and then you have no idea what's happening. On March 13th, 2017, it was around 10:30, I think, that night, and I started having severe back pain, which I had really bad, pains that if you Google it or look it up or anything, it always says that it's just ligament pains from, your body stretching and making room for the baby and stuff like that. So I never really thought anything else of it. I called my mom, and she told me immediately to go to the emergency room, because backstory on me, I was born very premature. I was born at 26 weeks and was given absolutely zero chance of survival. I had open heart surgery when I was 4 days old. I was on oxygen for like the first year of my life. Like, they just had zero chance or hope in me living. And obviously you can see by me being here that I am. But when I called my mom and told her about this pain that I was having and everything, she told me to go to the emergency room right away, because already I was much further along, like, in labor than she was when she had me. So I waited for a little bit, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to go in, because if I go in, like, they're just going to tell me that nothing's wrong and whatever. So after we decided that we were going to go to the hospital, I went to the bathroom and I was bleeding. We knew that that was not a good sign at all. So after that, we kind of kicked it into high gear and went to the emergency room. Since I was under 20 weeks pregnant, I had to stay in the emergency room. I stayed down there, and they did an ultrasound and a urine test and a pelvic exam. I think those were the 3 things that they did. So they took me back for the ultrasound. The only ultrasound that we had done was when I was at 6 weeks for like dating purposes. We had our 20-week appointment where we were going to find out if we were having a boy or a girl the following week. So we were very, very, very excited. And so I went back to get the ultrasound done, and the ultrasound tech was trying to get, take pictures and measurements and all that kind of stuff. And the way that she was facing towards my back. So they couldn't get like a good profile or anything, but I was like, oh, that's all right, because our 20-week appointment is next week anyway, so we'll just see there. So she printed out some ultrasound pictures for me. There was only like 2 of them, and I remember hiding them under my blanket because I was so excited to show Justin, because Justin was like, he was so excited for the ultrasound. So I hid them under my blanket until they wheeled me back into the room that I was in, because it was Justin and my stepmom were at the hospital with me, so they asked how it went, and I pulled out the ultrasound things, and I was like, oh my gosh. So we got very excited, and we're very happy that we actually had ultrasound pictures that actually somewhat looked like a baby. And then after that, everything just kind of came crashing down. After that, they did a pelvic exam, and they said that based on that, I was having a miscarriage. I was 18 weeks and 4 days at this point. So they said that I was having a miscarriage, and that they were going to call my doctor to see if they wanted to admit me, or if they just thought that I could just go home and just let it happen naturally. Which, now, in hindsight, that is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my entire life. Because when someone says you're having a miscarriage, your mind automatically goes to like a first trimester loss, which obviously anyone that has had a first trimester loss, I have not, but I know a lot of people that have, and it is in no way any less painful than having a stillbirth or anything like that. When someone says miscarriage, you don't think about the later losses that you actually have to go into labor and deliver a baby that's not going to survive, which is exactly what I had to do, though I didn't know that that was what I was going to have to do until later, because the ER staff didn't know that was kind of how things worked, I guess. They had never really had any sort of experience with anything like that. And me, it being my first time being pregnant, I had zero idea about anything. I was so naive. They sent me up to labor and delivery because obviously I was going to go into labor and deliver. And they put me on some pain medication that totally made me absolutely ridiculous. I don't remember. I remember bits and pieces, but I don't remember hardly anything about like the next few hours after they gave me that medication. The morning of March 14th at around 8:57 in the morning, I gave birth to a 8-ounce, 8-inch, I think she was 8 inches, baby girl. It was easily one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. It was without a doubt the hardest day of my entire life. It was the hardest day of my husband's life. The hospital that I delivered at didn't have a NICU. With her only being 18 weeks and 4 days, she was just too underdeveloped to be able to survive. There was really nothing that they could do. She was alive all the way up until I delivered her. She was breeched, so when I delivered her, her feet came out first and you could see her feet kicking, which was traumatic at the moment when it was happening. But looking back on it, I'm like glad that I got to see that because she was alive. Her being so underdeveloped and the hospital not having a NICU just kind of led to her not being able to survive. Holy jeez, I just kind of got emotional. Whew. Yeah. After that, we got to hold her, obviously. All of our family that was in, came in and everyone got to hold her and spend time with her. They took her away and wrapped her in this little tiny blanket with this little hat that was entirely too big for her, but hey, it worked. And she was perfect. In every single way. She was perfect, just born too soon. Which makes you always wonder about what could have been, what should have been. Again, she was perfect. She had no genetic abnormalities. There was nothing wrong with her. She was just born too soon. Once it got later on in the afternoon and everything, they said that it was, going to be okay for me, not us. It was going to be time for me to get discharged. All of our family left. Some of them came back to our house, which was nice because it gave Justin and I some time to just be with her and just have some time with just the three of us, which was very much needed and welcome after the hell that we had gone through. We just loved on her. We knew that we were going to have to say goodbye With her being under 20 weeks, I don't think that we could have her, we couldn't have like a funeral or anything like that. So that was the last time that we were going to see her and be with her. So we just soaked it up. We loved on her, and we talked, and we cried a lot. And it was the hardest thing that either of us have ever had to do, obviously. I remember holding her and asking Justin if he wanted to hold her again or anything, and he said, if I hold her, I'm not gonna let her go. He's like, I could stay here all day for the rest of my life and hold her and just not let go. And that was the hardest part, was holding her and having to give her back, knowing that that was going to be the last time that we ever were going to see her again. Because that's not how it's supposed to happen. That's not how it was supposed to happen. After we left, we drove home. Neither one of us had slept, at all. And we got home, and we went to lay down to take a nap and sleep and rest. And as soon as we got home and got into bed and laid down, Justin lost it. He had been trying to be so strong for me, for her, and he just broke down. So naturally I did too. And we held each other and cried and cried and cried. Because that's not how it's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to have to give your child back. And since then, we've just been trying to survive. Thanks for listening to June's story. I hope you have a gentle day.